Alright, so this is going to be a deck tech for, this is actually part 2. So I originally had part 1 of this video, which was the original deck tech for this same commander. I've upgraded it a lot since then, so we got some new cards. This is also going to feature the Junji Ito Secret Lair. So I have these cards, I'll be going over that, as well as some of the more strategy stuff for the deck. And this one's also one of my more thematic ones, so I figured I'd kind of showcase some of the stuff that's in it, some of the cool artwork lands. Savra, not exactly the most powerful commander for the deck, but good synergy, and it's kind of thematic to have her to be the commander for a sacrifice theme tribal deck. The Junji Ito Secret Lair is actually one of the best looking ones I think I've seen. I got it specifically because he is a fantastic artist and he does have some really good stuff. Plus, all of the cards are on the same color, so that means they can be used in multiple different decks all at the same time. Now, they're not exactly the best cards in terms of like synergy for the deck itself, but I really do like them. They look fantastic. The artwork on them is super great. And, like I said, you can all kind of use them in the same deck. So, Carrion Feeder, we have Plague Crafter, Doomsday, which is not exactly great in terms of usefulness, but is super cool. And Thoughtseize. Actually, this Thoughtseize is probably my favorite edition of the deck because it's a super useful card. I think the art on that is fantastic. And it's just a fun addition. Now, the actual deck itself runs off of a sacrifice theme, so this is going to be demonstrated with a couple of different types of creatures. So with the Carrion Feeder, we're going to have things similar to that where it's a sacrifice outlet. That's going to also be helped out by Savra's static abilities. Plague Crafter is another type of creature where we're going to have a couple of exploit creatures, a couple of ones that actually ETB and sack, and then a couple of other ones too. The major one being which is one of my favorites, I always thought was really interesting, is the Devour mechanic. This Devour mechanic I think they should have done a little bit more with, but these are the major creatures for it. The Skullmulcher, Mycoloth, Ravenous Gigantotherium, Feaster Fools, Tar Fiend, and Bloodsport Thrynax. The Devour mechanic is essentially whenever this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters. For Devour 1, and then subsequently 2, and then 3. Each of them getting a number of counters, and another bonus with all of the creatures that they sacrifice. So, make a bunch of creatures, do a Devour, and then you can either have things happen like this one has the Convoke and Devour, but also like the Skullmulcher can draw a card, Mycoloth gives counters, Ravenous Gigantotherium can kill. The Devour 3 plus the kill is great. And then also Tar Fiend is a discard, and there's another +1/+1 counter ability. So, having all those is really great. Now there's one specific card that works really well in terms of synergy for the Devour mechanic, and that's Endrick Shar, Master Breeder. So notice this one that says whenever you cast a creature spell, put X/1/1 Thralls on. And then when you control 7 or more, you can sacrifice him. So, on cast, you get the creatures, the tokens. And then on Devour, when the ETBs, they can take all those away, which is fantastic. So, just by casting it, you get enough for them to devour equal to CMC. And then the only one that can actually kill it on single term is Ravenous Gigantotherium, which if you're hitting that one for 7, Devour 3, you're getting +21, dealing out a ton of damage. It's fantastic. So I like that. I like these. Couple of other creatures that we have. I'm just going to start going through the deck. Theater Hope, Flyer with a sack outlet. Lord of the Void, I just think is a great demon to have, and plus also his ability can get you other cards to specifically creatures that you can use to then sacrifice also. Devouring Strosis, I think this is just a really cool old sacrifice card because it has at the beginning of the upkeep sack a creature and you can sack to regenerate, plus a 9/9 flying trample is very good to have. Doomgape is fun. This one, another huge creature that has sacrifice abilities. The Demogoth Titan. Sidisi, which is exploit for tutor. And he's also a 4/6 Death Touch for 5 mana. I think Sidisi is really good. Used to be a bulk rare, and now he's a staple for any black deck, I think, that runs a sacrifice or Death Touch theme. The Village Rites, just a fun one, because I usually am able to get a couple of creatures out for single mana, draw 2 cards if I'm running sacrifice anyway. The Rot-Tide Gargantua, another exploit for sacrifice. Now, a few of these are going to be sacrifice cards where I like the idea of using like Plaguecrafter or like Sidisi or Rot-Tide. All of these ones, when they enter the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature, which is really great because I can use these ones to sacrifice some of my creatures that are going to be sacrificed anyway. Then I get these creatures and they have to get rid of theirs. Plus also Gorman Strong, the Rot-Tide Gargantua, is 5/4 also for 5, which is not too bad. Braids, another sacrifice outlet. And also 3/3 for 3. Actually pretty decent. Diabolic Intent, another bonus one. So there's a few sack outlet cards. The Nim Death Mantle I think is great because you can basically have 4 and have something get brought back if you need. So you can link up with that a little bit. Second Harvest to double the tokens. Archfiend just to keep it on sacrifice theme. So that way they have to still sacrifice if you're able to get that one out and have that pop off. Treasured Find, I think that's just a good card to have for a green-black deck. Cultivate for a little ramp. Mazarek, Cold Death Priest, this guy's great because this is whenever a player sacrifices another permanent. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So that can get really strong fast. Kodama's Reach for a little bit of ramp. Butcher Malakir, another classic. Sarissa Death's Whisper, not really so much on sacrifice theme, but it's on color and does have a couple of abilities. Liliana's Triumph, each opponent sacrifices a creature for 2 mana, so I think that's great. If I'm making them sack other ones, I think that works out well. The Scroll of Fate's an interesting card for this deck because I think that in a pinch, getting a free creature for 3 mana at the worst is not too bad. Reaper of the Abyss, this is just going to be one for end step death triggers. And this destroys targets, which is nice. Rampant Growth for a little bit more ramp. I like this artwork for the Rampant Growth, so I also added this in. This deck, I said, is a little bit more thematic, so this one does have a lot more like stylistic stuff that may not necessarily be like super great. Arcade Signet, just good for Commander. Cemetery Prowler, this one's kind of interesting because it's a 3 mana cost of Vigilance. And then also it makes other things less to cast, so I just think this is some power creep that I had to throw in there. The Altar of Dementia. In addition to looking cool, this could also be a game ender depending on how you work it. So let's say if I had like some kind of crazy huge creature, like the Ravenous Gigantetherium, if I was able to pop that off, I can use the Altar of Dementia to hit for massive mill if they're starting to get low. Sol Ring, Sakura Tribe Elder. Rush to Birth is kind of interesting, just because it says search, so lesser mana value. So if I have something that's a little bit bigger, I can then search, have something come out. If it's a low-cost creature, I'll be able to get other things too. This one is tokens you control have add green, so that could be really useful if I'm able to make a lot of tokens, and then use those to cast other things. Spiritmonger, I just think Spiritmonger is a good addition to any Golgari deck. Deals damage to a creature, gets +1/+1. Regenerate for black. Becomes color for green. for a 6/6 body for 5 mana. I think he's great. Again, like I said, not all these are going to be super thematic or on synergy. The Mere Battlesphere. This one's just easy money. It's 7 mana and you get 5 creatures. Ghoul Caller's Harvest. So I think now I've gotten into the part of the deck where I start making things. The Ghoul Caller's Harvest is kind of nice because it's just 2 mana and you can actually use it to get a lot of creatures out depending on how you do it. Plus it has the flashback for later on if you needed to. Natama Primeval Warden. This one's another cool looking card that also has a fun ability because if a creature they dies, goes to exile instead, so it gets rid of theirs and also helps yours. Skeletal Swarming, just for more creature make. Now this one's kind of weird because I didn't really think about adding it in, but it gives you the 2 creatures right away. And also has other abilities if you needed to. Carrier Thrall, so that one dies, make another one, and that can be used for mana too. Carry On, I love this card for this deck. So sacrifice a creature, put into play a number of maggot tokens equal to the sacrifice creature's power. Treat these as 0/1 black creatures. And this is an instant. So I have to take a look actually at the errata text for that to see if I can do that for more than 1 creature when I actually have it out. Army of the Damned, this is just an amazing card. I love this one a lot. Rise of the Dreadmine, another one that can create a lot of things. Avenger Zendikar makes a lot of dudes. Avenger Zendikar rules. Priest of Bloodright. So this one's great because I can do 5 mana, get the 5/5, and then even though this guy has a negative ability, I can just sack him. Adopter Assembly, I can make some guys, but that is kind of costly. So this one actually, you have to wait a turn. But it can be a good payoff because you get to keep that one if you get the other ones. Griswold the Dreadsower, End Step, make plants. Easy money. Creekwood Leash, pumps up, beginning of the upkeep, makes a worm. Easy. Catacomb Sifter gets the whenever another creature dies scry, and Eldrazi. Easy. Lathril of the Elves. So this one's kind of weird. Haven't actually gotten to use this one. I don't know how effective it'll be. But I don't think that this is going to be able to go on for its second ability. But it does have Menace, and it can make 1/1 green elf. So let's say if it's pumped by the Creekwood Liege, that's 4. I can get 4 from that, maybe. The Inhorrible Overlord I've actually gotten a lot of use out of for how much you would think he's not that great at the beginning of your sacrifice creature, but he gets 2 harpies right off the bat from himself, and by the time I have him out, I usually have a couple of other black permanents. So, and they're flyers. Viper the Swarm. That's just another one that can make some dudes, and he has an ability. Plus, also he has 3 toughness and only costs 2 mana. I think he's fine. Now, also in this deck is a lot of really fun lands that I put in here that I think I really like. That kind of go along with the theme of the deck, I think. So, Hollow Full Art Swamps from the new Innistrad sets. I think those are fantastic. This is just old forested, just like those trees. Swamp from the new Zendikar set, not the brand new one, but that one looks pretty cool. I like the flying tentacles. The Haunted Mire. Old Swamp. These new swamps from the Kamigawa set, these are amazing. Full Art Swamps from Zendikar. The other swamp from here. Oh, this one's great. The Lore One Swamp. This is a pretty famous one. I think this one is fantastic too. The artwork on it is good. And this one with all the thorns I think is great. Oh, this one's really cool from the Brothers War. This full hollow one with the large Phyrexian in the background. I think that's awesome. Some more of these ones. Even the forests look great on these. The black and white kind of comic book look is really neat. The Evolving Wilds, it's just a fun Evolving Wilds. I think that's pretty neat. Full art ones are rampant in the deck. Dark Moss Bridge. Another forest. Swamps. Swamps. Forest. forest. Oh, this is one I wanted to get to. Alright. This very nice Golgari Rob farm with these excellent mushrooms on it. Very cool. Forests, swamps, forests, jungle hollow, woodland chasm, a couple more forests. So, pretty decent look at the deck. I wanted to kind of showcase a couple of the cards, get the deck, and also the Junji Ito Secret Lair. Very cool. Again, not the most effective deck that I have, but it is fun. That's what we're here for.